Welcome back to Jack of All Games Tabletop. I'm Dave Wallace, and today we are painting board game miniatures, tabletop ready. Now, as far as defining what that means, for those of you who are just your average board gamer, you're not really a painter, you're not an artist, you're not really even getting into super detailed paintings, and you just want to make something look cool, that's what this is about. Tabletop ready is about making things that are just going to pop a little bit on your board and not, take hours per miniature. And so we're going to be covering something on that today. This is going to take you through a little video on how my entire process for that specifically goes. Now, as you might know if you've already been watching my channel, I am a miniature painter. I do a lot of commission work. In fact, I've got quite a bit of commission on my table right now, jobs that I got to get done for next few weeks, hopefully. I did just finish actually painting this guy up. This is the Tyrant from the game. Let's see if I can get that in there good. Yeah, that is from the game Hate. I did a the full set for a guy, a friend of mine, and this was a new expansion that came in. So this is the Tyrant that I just finished up, and I've got plenty more work to do. If you've seen the channel before, you might have seen samples of some of the other things that I've done. I do lots of board game, lots of Warhammer, but also sometimes I like to just do a quick paint job on something that looks kind of basic. And so for those of you, for those of us who are board game collectors, there's plenty of you out there who have tons of games with really cool miniatures. You don't want to spend a ton of time on it. You just want to, kind of get through them quick, but still make them look good, better than the solid plastic that they come in. So that's what we're covering. We're going to be working today with the game Lords of Ragnarok. I really enjoy this game, and I really love the miniatures that come with it. I actually don't really paint my own personal games that much, only because I spend too much time in it, and then I really like how it looks, and then I think to myself, I wonder how much I could get for this if I put it on eBay, and then I post it and somebody buys it, and then I get sad because it was a really cool game and wish I hadn't sold it. So as a general rule, I don't really paint a lot of my games. However, something like this where it's going to be a nice, quick, easy, simple paint job. Thought I'd go ahead and start that with the Lords of Ragnarok, and thought I'd take you through it. Now, I only just started this project, and because of my commission jobs and other things I've got going on, it's going to take me a while. I did want to show you that there's a couple. This game has some really cool miniatures in it. They do have like these cool statues of some of the Norse gods. This is Thor, of course. But this in the game is actually a statue that you actually build over time. Because it's a statue, I'm not going to do a super detailed paint. I'm going to do gray washes and make it look like a statue. But it does have a lot of cool miniatures that are kind of like monsters and heroes and gods, and this is a Loki one. So when I get around to these ones, these are a little larger, more detailed. So I'm gonna do something a little bit nicer, far more detailed for a paint job for these guys. But in the game, each player gets their own units, things that they get to use. They look kind of like this. This is the blue team, and you can see it's got a little dial there to represent your armies as you move across the board. Each player gets 6 of these different units that represent your armies. 6 of them that are exactly alike. So they also each get 4 of these tiny little priests that you got to use in the game, and then each player also gets a little cool little Viking ship. You see that kind of like hex pattern on there. I mean, this is a game where it kind of combines Viking mythology with a little bit of a sci-fi edge. It's kind of unusual and cool, but it kind of makes me think a little bit differently about how I'm going to do my paint job. I want everything to, like looking at this guy, like I'm seeing, leather wrappings and then mechanical pieces too. So it's a kind of a weird combination. Like, why do you have these Viking ships that seem to hover on the water and you're still wearing leather strappings on your feet? I don't know, kind of a weird mix, but anyway, it's really cool. So we're just gonna make them look nice on the board today. So again, this is going to be really easy. Anybody can do this with just real basic paints. Because of the size of some of these guys, so the bases on this super small, way smaller than a Warhammer, something like that. So I'm going to keep everything really basic. I'm not going to be doing a ton of like highlights and stuff like that. So again, if you're not an artist, this is something you'll be able to do. I'm going to do a combination of speed paints and acrylics. I have my own preferences. We'll talk about that. Basically, I'm going to put all these little videos together of the painting process, and then voice over why I'm doing what I'm doing. So hopefully maybe you can get kind of little basic tips out of this. Now, I already did, what got me started on this was I painted the red team. And take a look at this. So yeah, I did that first, and so I thought, well, maybe I'll just go ahead and make a video of this. So this is going to be working with the green team, or the player who chooses the green team anyway. You'll see in the video that I, covered up the base, where I, took the miniature, took some masking tape around the base of the miniature, so that way I maintain a consistency, and also as far as the army units, I wanted to make sure that they looked, pretty much the same from miniature to miniature, and then, have tying in those base colors somewhere in there. But again, I'm trying to keep up a little bit of both the sci-fi edge. There's going to be a lot of silver metallics, but also because they're Vikings, in my mind, I'm not using any brilliant fluorescent colors. I'm using furs and leathers and stuff like that. So you'll see all of that as we go along, and then at the end we'll get some good shots, some good look at them on the board and how much cooler they look than just one solid color. So anyway, here we go. This is the painting of Lords of Ragnarok Green Team. Check this out.
All right, so we got to start off with priming. Priming is very important. It's what your paint is actually going to adhere to. Without it, a lot of plastics, your paint can just easily rub off. Now, if you are new to miniature painting, I want to make sure that that don't be intimidated by the fact that I'm using an airbrush. This is just my kind of preferred method, but there's plenty of ways you can do it. I mean, you can get brush on primer, really easy to find. Also, you can get rattle cans. You can take out in your garage, get a $8 can of Rust-Oleum, or you can spend $30 on Chaos Black by Citadel, which will probably the nozzle malfunction halfway through and you'll get pissed off and throw it in the garbage. But yeah, I just prefer the airbrush. I only really use airbrush for priming and some base colors for like Warhammer and some lighting effects too. And you can see I did put some masking tape around the base of these miniatures in order to maintain that base color. So now that we've got it primed, I'm going to start doing the dry brushing. I'm going to do some gray and some white. Starting with these grays, dry brushing is just getting the paint on the big fat soft brush and then getting as much off as you can and then kind of just stroking over top of it. You'll notice I'm going in every direction. This is not zenithal. I know a lot of people kind of misuse that term, but zenithal is specifically downward strokes to represent the sun at its zenith. It's light that comes from straight above. But I find that for really small miniatures, especially these priests here, it's not necessarily helpful. You're going to lose a lot of the details, and so I'm dry brushing from every direction. So here I go putting some white over top of that. And, it's a little heavy, but I kind of want that because of the size of these things. And I'm going to be doing some speed paints over top of it. So I want to make sure that, everything shows up pretty well. So they're, a little bit dry brush on the bright side, but you can definitely see, sorry if it gets blurry in some spots there, but yeah, you can make out the definition of the blacks underneath it. So, yeah, just trying to make sure that all of these get, a little bit decent coverage. And like I said, from every direction, I want to make sure everything pops on it. I'm not necessarily looking for dramatic. I'm not trying to win a trophy. I want my pieces to just look good on the board. You'll notice I still have the bases taped at this time too. Okay, so check out this. This is one of my daughter's little pop-it tools. They work great for speed paints. You let it dry overnight, and you can just push them in, and look at there, just the excess just comes out, and works really well for this. I will say, and you'll probably be able to notice this as we go on, if you can get one of these in white, makes a big difference because a lot of these speed paints come out a little bit dark. I'm going to start off by, just kind of figuring out what I want my matching base color. You still can't see the green. I still have the tape on it this time. It'll come off soon, but I'm already looking at areas where I'm going to put greens to kind of match the team color, I guess you could say. I want to make sure, and there's a uniformity to these, so I want them to be all the same. So I'm kind of, plotting out what areas I'm going to do, what colors, and keep it consistent. So here I'm just doing this, it's a camo green speed paint that I'm putting over just select areas. This loincloth and parts of the backpack are going to be done that way. Now you can see I am still using a caution. It's not even a really tight brush that I'm using for this, but I am using caution. It is, you hear the term slap chop. It's not slop chop. You still gotta, be a little bit cautious. I mean, I'm not worried about it too much because I am going to be using some solid acrylic paints that are going to be going over tops of the. So, I'm trying to get those lower regions first. And here's one of the little priests that, again, I want to make sure that green is in there somewhere. So yeah, this is still more of that camo green. I want everything in this particular player's units to all be matching in that way. There should be that kind of color that brings them all together. Same thing with the ship here. It's got some flags that I'm painting in green, and also the sails have these little dragon symbols. And they're all the same. The boats are for each team, but the little dragons are going to kind of help the color differentiate. Again, I know I'm going to be using some solid silver in between there, so if I'm a little bit sloppy with it, it's not a big deal because I'm going to go through covering parts of that up with the solid acrylics. Now I'm about to use a brown. I think we're going to be going more for things like leathers and some like the pants and stuff like that. It's a weird combination, this mix of sci-fi and Viking. Oddly enough, like they got all these parts that look like, metal hoses and, sci-fi elements. But then they're wearing furs and stuff, so kind of a bizarre thing. I do want my Vikings look like Vikings. So I stick with, those natural colors that they would have. I use, browns and greens, and I don't do any really bright fluorescent colors when it comes to this, even though they have a sci-fi side to them. I'm going to bring that out more with the metallic colors. So yeah, there's his pants coming along. Most of these really can just do with a single coat to them. So now this is a much darker brown. And I'm using this because these guys have this little fur on them. It's kind of hard to make out if it's a wolf or a bear, but just using this dark brown as the main color. Now it's probably hard to see unless you're watching this on a bigger screen, but around the animal's face, the bear face, wolf face, I left parts of it untouched. And it's because I'm going to go in with some lighter colors. A lot of animals, if you look at them, they have like spots of lighter texture around the face, around the muzzle. So, and here I'm kind of contemplating on what's what here. Oh, so now I'm actually going to do this flesh tone on the face and the hands. This is not a speed paint. This is an acrylic. I don't really like too many speed paints in the flesh tones. I just don't like how they look, I guess. I prefer a solid acrylic. I use Pro Acryl for all of my solid acrylics. And you'll notice there the wet palette. This is a cheap homemade wet palette. I have some professional ones, and they are absolutely no better than this. This is just a piece of Tupperware I put paper towel down on the bottom and ran some water in there just to soak it pretty good, and then I used the palette paper over top of it, and I can close the lid on it and seal it up and keep the moisture in there. But yeah, I have professional wet palettes that I use sometimes, especially like travel, but for at home I use this thing, and it's exactly the same. So you can make yourself a wet palette super cheap, and it'll keep your paint for several days, as long as you're keeping it sealed up. It'll keep it going good for you. So looks like we're doing some silver now, and if you're doing like a high detailed larger miniature made for display and winning awards, then yeah, you might want to do more of the non-metallic look, where people use just different tones of gray, and it's a really beautiful look. But these things are small, and it's for my game, so I'm just going straight up. This is a silver. I do think I'll use some other metallic colors in there, and I will be doing a wash over it as well. But yeah, like I said, these guys that kind of have like all these little hoses and pieces that look like, aside from their weapons, they have just little contraptions on them that look rather sci-fi. So that's why I was using that. Now this, I'm doing a tannish color around the face of the animal face. I'm going to actually mix it with darker brown here in a minute, so that way it blends. But right now, yeah, just right around the nose and just the basic face of the animal, and then of course I'll dash in a little bit of black on the nose and in the eyes too. But yeah, just kind of making sure that animal's face stands out, so that it's obvious he's wearing an animal fur. Yeah, at this point I'm actually mixing the two, brown and that tan color, so that way it blends into the dark brown of the main fur color. And it's nothing super difficult. I'm just doing little tiny spots here. So after that green dried, I wasn't really happy with it. It needed just a little bit more pop. I could have done another coat of the speed paint, but I actually just decided to just kind of tap in, mixing these light green and medium camo green to go over those greens that I already did, just kind of pop a little bit onto them. Not exactly highlighting, just tapping that color on there. This will definitely make things just stand up a little. I still want it to be a darker, natural green, but just making them pop a little bit more. And I did it on everything. I did it on these banners on the ship, and on the dragons on there, and yeah, all the pieces that I just went over them again. It didn't take long. You'll notice if you watch the paint strokes with this kind of stuff, I'm not really brushing it as much as kind of almost just tapping it in spots, depending on what I'm doing. Same thing with this guy. Just kind of bringing stuff out a little bit more. So now I'm doing these priests. They have these little, like, it looks like horns, spikes on their shoulders. I want them to look like bones. So I'm starting off with just an ivory white that I'm coating over top of them. I'm actually going to use a speed paint over top of them. Army Painter Pallid Bone I use for all my like skeletons and stuff like that. But yeah, so I base it with this ivory white, and then I'll let it dry and then come back to them and put that speed paint over them. So this, while that's drying, I am doing these little priests. I'm giving them they got like hair and beard showing, and I'm making them white. You know, that old wise kind of look to them. So, and yeah, you can see like I'm just barely touching them. When it comes to the small stuff, that's definitely going to help you. Here's that Pallid Bone that I was talking about by Army Painter. Putting this over top of the ivory, like I said, it makes a really nice look to anything that's supposed to be bone. And you can see in my little pop-up tool there, pop-up toy that I'm using my speed paints, how dark everything is. Speed paints look really dark inside the container. That's why I said if you can find one of these in white, so much the better. Otherwise, you just got to remember where you put things. So this is actually kind of a bronze color, metallic paint that I'm doing. This little bowls that these guys are holding, and you know, a few other little pieces here and there, but you know, just an additional metal to help make things stand out and look cool. And again, it's the same kind of thing where I'm just kind of tapping that paintbrush on it. He's starting to look really cool, and I'm digging it. Now this is a satin black. Most of the black that I use is a flat coal black, but this is I'm going to be doing a little bit of this satin black, just because of the size of these guys. Again, I'm trying to keep it simple, so I'm using it for like belts, just to make it a little bit more of a shiny leather. It's not too shiny, like I said. It's a satin black, so it's not glossy, but it definitely stands out a little bit more than a flat black. Now here I'm working on the water for the boat. And you can see up in the corner there I got 3 different blues out there, and that's what I'm going to be using for the water. I'm putting in this dark water first and making sure the lowest parts of those waves, I'm getting that darker black in there. Oh, sorry, darker blue. And then almost immediately I go in with this mid-tone blue. And, you know, the fact that the other one hasn't dried yet is going to kind of help these blend together. I'm not, I'm making sure that I'm not trying to coat it all, though. I'm trying to be a little bit in those wave areas and a little bit into the deep areas. Now here I'm covering those crests with this light blue. This kind of just understanding like the higher parts of the wave are, caused by the boat moving through and causing a wake. So it kind of helps give a little bit of motion look to it. And then, of course, I'm going to put a little bit of white over top of those crests. And you see here I'm obviously just tapping it. I'm not brushing. I'm just tapping the white against the crest of those waves. I thought that with the bright steel colors of the weapons and different metal parts in these guys, I thought it brightened it up a little bit too much. All right, so anyway, yeah, using this Graveland Gray to make the bases just a little bit darker. Now, these paints, these speed paints will get a little bit lighter as they dry. But yeah, so I wanted to make that stone basing just a little darker. And then this is Nuln Oil. All miniature painters know about Nuln Oil. Most of them have spilled theirs. I have not. I shouldn't curse myself like that. It's probably a dumb thing to say. But it's basically a shading. It's going to make your metal parts look a little dingier, looks a little more used and not so shiny. And it gets into the cracks and makes those cracks look the recessed parts look a little bit darker. This is what I use for the eyes. I should have made a video of it, but yeah, microns. That is how you do eyes on tiny things. Don't try and paintbrush it. And final step is just giving it a varnish. Take it outside, rattle can. This satin varnish, I love this stuff. I use it on all my miniatures. So anyway, that's the painting process.
Anyway, that's the basics of how it went. It's really simple. Most of it didn't take too long at all. So anybody could do this. And now, again, I wanted to see how good they look on the table. I purposely kept things very simplified so that way on the board, they're going to stand out and not be turned into a mess by trying to do too many layers and too many things with it. So let's take a look at how they look on the board.
Submerged in the waves of insanity, the rolling seas and the devious fog. I shall awaken the ancient god. I hear it calling, there's no escape. The tentacles of a monstrous fate. The dreaded day when the stars align will be the ending of all mankind.
So there you go. Like I said, nice and easy. They look cool on the board. Be able to see them from across the table and make out all the, basics of them, and pieces separate from each other. That's really what's important. Nothing detailed, but again, it just pops, makes you feel a little bit better about your game. Make you want to break it out a little bit more, impress your friends. Anyway, if you have any questions about that, absolutely drop them in the comments. Again, you could do way more detail. I could do way more detail, but why? It's not necessary. These are not for display. I'm not trying to win a trophy. This is just keeping it simple, and I'm really happy with how they look. And I think if you try this, you might be really happy with how it looks too. So let me know if you've painted any of your miniatures. I'd love to see some pictures of miniatures that you guys have painted. You know, if you got some great pictures and you want to send them to me, maybe I can share them on the channel. So, hey, look what this person's doing with their paint jobs. It's really cool. All right, that's going to be it for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Hey gamers, thanks again for watching. I really do appreciate all the support. It's one of the things I know that I can count on with the gaming community at large. This is of course to the point where I gotta ask you to like it, hit that subscribe button, and maybe share this with a friend. If you are a game designer, or maybe starting your own gaming company, and you want to do a little bit of cross promotion, maybe you got a prototype that you want me to check out and talk about on the show, definitely let me know. And of course, for all questions, suggestions, and corrections, there's all kinds of ways to get a hold of me. Probably the easiest one is just comment below. You can also send me an email at jackofallgamestt@gmail.com. The T stands for tabletop. And if you'd like to take a look at my commissioned miniature paint jobs, or even some of the other stuff in my life like photography or tattooing, which is what I do for my day job, go check it out on Instagram at Art of Wallace. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next episode.